You're watching Local 24's special presentation, Freedom Forward, the National Civil Rights Museum grand reopening. Now, live from the Lorraine Motel, here again, Cameron Harper and Kelly Cook. You're watching Local 24.
And right now, the Reverend Dr. Rosalind Nichols is giving the blessing after this multi-religious reading that's been going on here for the last few minutes.
Yeah, that's right. And there are a few, I would say a few hundred people that have made it out here today for this special. And that number is expected to be around 10,000 or so tomorrow for the official grand reopening of the museum.
There will be a lot of people who will want to see this museum for the first time in many ways, even if you've seen it before, because it's all new. Let's go down now to Local 24's Rudy Williams, who's in the courtyard. Rudy?
It's a beautiful day for some beautiful moving tributes for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., celebrating his legacy and his life today. There are hundreds of people here today. Museum officials expect thousands to come through this weekend as this museum is reopened in this grand fashion today. This museum is actually being called a model. The governor was in today, he was in earlier talking about how the New York Times is calling this museum a model museum for any others anywhere else in the world. Lots of money has gone into making it that way, and there are a lot of people who have already gotten sneak peeks inside, as you've gotten a chance to look inside, or will get a chance to look inside during this broadcast. But it is something to see, it's something to experience, and that's what this thing is all about, an interactive experience, and people are experiencing a lot of very moving things today. We're so happy to be here and to bring this to you. We've got Cameron and we've got Kelly up in the right above me. We're going to toss it back to them right now.
All right, thank you very much. Rudy Williams out there in the crowd. All right, so I come back to Memphis all the time, even though I was away. And one of the things you want to go do is come by the museum.
Yes.
But it's been closed since November 2012, preparing for this renovation that was happening this weekend.
It is such an overwhelming renovation. Creating some of these new exhibits required tearing down walls and cutting through the floors of the building. Some genuine construction challenges in several cases. So let's walk through and see how it was all done.
So this is the big new sign. Welcome to the National Civil Rights Museum.
Absolutely.
Big, bold, bright sign. What does this say about the new mission here?
Well, one of the goals we wanted to achieve with the renovation is to better connect our campus. We have our legacy exhibits here on Main Street, and of course the historic Lorraine Motel down on Mulberry. For our visitors from out of town using the trolley or coming down Main Street, we wanted to make sure they didn't have a hard time finding us anymore, so we thought a big red sign was a great way to do that. We've added some banners here with some interpretive photographs to kind of set the tone and set the stage. And so that'll also help you understand your entering history as you come onto our campus.
Well, let's go enter history.
Sure.
And of course, the first thing you see when you entered the old version of the museum was the sculpture, the spectacular sculpture about the struggle.
Right.
This had to actually come out of the museum for the reconstruction. Tell me how that worked.
Yeah, well, this is Movement to Overcome by Michael Pavlovsky, and it was commissioned for the original construction of the museum. To protect it, while we did all of this wonderful construction up around here, we had to bring it out. So we actually had to demolition the entire front of the museum out, cut holes in it to get rigging equipment around it, lift it out on a forklift, and then have a crane pick it up, set it on a truck, take it to storage, and then reverse that coming back in.
That was no small job.
No, it wasn't. It was a real exciting day during construction, a couple of exciting days.
How much does this weigh?
It is about 7,500 pounds, and it's 14 feet tall. So.
And you can't lose the symbolism. The symbolism is so important in this piece.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful sculpture, and we love it tremendously, and we really think it has a much stronger presence in the new grand lobby that we have here with more light and different positioning, so you can see the dimensionality of the figures coming out of the sculpture, and you can see we're helping one another, but of course none of us have made it to the top, so that lets us know we all still have work to do.
You had a lot of construction challenges in building this, and we're stepping into the Black Power, Black Empowerment area, which kind of looks like a time tunnel. So tell me what this space was.
This is actually, we are within the original Lorraine Motel, where the original motel rooms were. Just on the other side of these exhibits is the facade, the historic facade of the Lorraine Motel.
So when we see the doors, and we see the curtains over the windows.
Right, we're right inside of there.
The back side of that is where we are right now.
Right. This gave us more room to interpret the years 1965 to 68, where a lot of changes happened. happening.
And you stepped up to a new kind of digital interpretation here.
Right.
This looks like a touchscreen table.
It is, and so this is Join the Movement. We have 6 issues. You can choose an issue, you can take a position, and it connects the contemporary issues with the historic issues. And then it shows us the importance of taking a stand as an individual, and then also the power of people coming together to make positive change.
And now we're walking into one of the more interesting construction spaces too. And this is the Memphis room.
Right.
And what we have come to know as an icon, an iconic symbol of the civil rights movement, the I Am a Man demonstration. These are the sanitation workers.
Correct. Right.
You positioned them here, why?
Well, they used to be down below. We looked down on them from the 2nd floor. We wanted to bring them all up so that we would be with them. We're here walking in the street. We're marching with them. We are there with the sanitation workers.
But they are facing what is in many ways symbolic of what they were going through, the conditions that they were fighting.
Right, so they're walking on the street and we're looking at the archival footage of the sanitation strike. So we're with them and seeing what they were going through during the sanitation strike and the headlines of the strike coming up on the screen of the sanitation truck.
And this is one of the most, I think, one of the most striking exhibits in the museum, because this truck did not get up here on the 2nd floor by itself. I mean, this was a major operation.
It was,
as
yeah.
the people watching this are seeing how it happened.
Right, so first we had to figure out how heavy it was to know how much structure we needed, and then our riggers had to come and, pick up the truck on a forklift. I didn't know you could even do that. So, and then, carefully position it to get it just right onto that bit of deck there, and then we built the rest of the structure
So you brought it up,
around it.
You put it on a ledge, and you built the floor all
We
out
sure did.
in front of it.
Yeah.
No small feat.
Not at all. No, it's an exciting day.
And the grand reopening of the museum is an exciting day as well. I'm in awe of the people who had the creativity to redo this place.
Great word, creativity. The things they thought of to put in there. We got a little sneak peek. We got a chance to go inside. So what was your favorite part about what you saw?
It's hard to pick a favorite, but one of the things that we did not show, and something that everybody should do, is there is an exhibit when you walk in about the Middle Passage, bringing the slaves over from Africa. And you have a chance in that exhibit to get down there below decks with the slaves and experience what it was like to be with them. That was one of the, I think, most moving things that I saw. But they have the challenge here of telling the same story in a new way, and they've done it successfully and enhanced it in so many ways.
And sometimes it's a lot of the same story that gets told, but a lot of things that happened that day or happened during the movement, the people that didn't get the big recognition that are getting the recognition now, and they are going to be remembered at this Candlelight Vigil. They're going to be remembered tomorrow. They're going to be showing up at the museum to say, hey, we remember you and your struggle and what you did
There were so
to
many
get us
other,
what we are
yes,
today.
there were so many other players in the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
And remember, we are live tweeting tonight's event as well, so we want everybody to join us. Use the hashtag FreedomForward so you can join the conversation.
Absolutely. And we are waiting right now. We're getting towards the end of the Candlelight Vigil. So in just a little bit, we're going to hear from the Bell Choir. So certainly want to stick around for that part of the program.
And also Beverly Robertson. Beverly Robertson has been a fixture at this museum for so many years. Mrs. Robertson has been here for, 16 years, I believe.
Yeah, well, let's go back to Joy and Rodney to learn about the role Miss Robertson played in this huge undertaking.
Well, Kelly and Cameron, let me tell you, anybody who's ever met Beverly Robertson knows the passion and dedication that she has for this museum. I mean, she is one of the most long-serving people, the heads of this museum, as a matter of fact. She's served the longest and seen the most amount of changes out of anybody who's ever worked at this museum.
And this massive renovation is her swan song to the museum and to the city of Memphis. Ms. Robertson announced last fall that she will officially be retiring from the Civil Rights Museum as of July 1st, which is huge news here and very sad to see her go. But, she told me that what better way to leave than on top.
Exactly, and the place is definitely on top if you see what's going on here today. And as you heard Cameron mention, this will be the first time in 16 years that somebody else has led this museum besides Ms. Robertson.
And that person will certainly have some big shoes to fill. I sat down with Beverly Robertson last week to talk about the museum, the history, and the future.
I've realized that half of the people in America today were born after 1970, have no knowledge of the seminal events of the struggle. They don't understand that there was struggle and sacrifice in order to be able to achieve the things that we've achieved in America today. And so it's important that we adapt this museum in ways that will engage people viscerally, especially young people. Young people and adults now no longer want to walk through a museum and read a book on a wall. They want to be able to touch it, to feel it, to become engaged in the experience, to be immersed in it, to hear the voices of everyday people who struggled, fought, bled, and died. People who stood by the courage of their convictions to make change, even in spite of their fears. And so that's the story that we tell here at the National Civil Rights Museum. It is a powerful story because what it says to me, that even though I might be just a regular citizen, I don't have to be a Dr. King or a Rosa Parks. I can just be a regular individual, everyday person, but I too have the power to make change. I too have the power to make a difference.
Do you feel like you have made a difference in this role?
I would like to hope so. When I came on board, I fell in love with this history, this story, this American story. I'm a student of history, and I thought I knew it. But you know what? Even in this project of renovating, I have learned there's so much that I didn't know. For as much as I knew, there's that much more that I didn't know. So this experience is gonna be a real eye-opener, and I always wanted to leave the museum better than I found it. And I really hope and I think that I have. I am amazed that people in other places know so much more about this history than some of us do. I am a little saddened that most of the people in Memphis, Tennessee, or many in Memphis, have never visited the National Civil Rights Museum. And I would say today that if you have never been to the National Civil Rights Museum, you're missing out, and you better come.
When you came into this role, obviously, you were just talking about the global awareness of this. What kind of weight did that have on you?
It had tremendous weight because I realized the importance of this story. If we're not collecting, researching, preserving, and displaying this history, it would be lost forever. It's not in history books. You may learn about Rosa Parks and Dr. King, but you certainly don't know about Vivian Malone and the Little Rock Nine and the folks who integrated Memphis City schools. You don't know that desegregation didn't just occur in the South. It occurred in places all across the country, and when you come here, you can touch on Ohio and understand what happened in Ohio. You can touch on Nebraska and know what happened in Nebraska, or in Missouri and know what happened to desegregate those schools in Missouri. So we are teaching a broader lesson about the civil rights movement, all because the sanitation workers stood up, all because they chose to stand and be a man. And as a result of that, they got Dr. King to come to Memphis. And unfortunately, here is where he died. But we have a lot to be grateful for, because at the site, I often think about it as a crucifixion and a resurrection. At the site of a great crucifixion, there's been a great educational resurrection. And it is a powerful one that everyone should take advantage of.
Let's talk about room 306. What does it mean to you? Not the president of this museum. What does it mean to Beverly?
Well, as an individual, it's a very emotional experience for me. I can barely stand in that space and not tear up myself, no matter how many times I come. No matter how many times I walk people through that space, no matter how many times I look out at that wreath in front of room 306 and see the place where his head fell. It's personal, and it means something. It's emotional, because I recognize, and I think many people in Memphis felt this way, that one of the world's greatest human rights leaders travels all over the world, comes to Memphis, Tennessee, and he gets killed.
So 10 years from now, you come back to the Civil Rights Museum. What would you like to see then? What would you hope to see?
That is a really good question. Well, I would hope to see our educational programming expand beyond America. And we want to connect that message with everybody. We want to tell everybody that comes through, you too have a voice. You just need to use it. You can stand for something. You may not be a king, but you can be the best Miss Jones that you can be. You can be the best Sarah Lee that you can be. And you, by standing up, can make a difference.
Powerful words there from Miss Robertson.
Definitely.
And she said that she will definitely be back to the museum. She is staying in Memphis. She's just going to take time to breathe.
And one thing we can say, she's definitely leaving this place better than when she came.
Absolutely. Now, this interview that I had with Ms. Robertson is nearly a half an hour long. We posted the entire thing on our website, localmemphis.com. It's a very, very interesting, passionate interview from an incredible woman who's done so much for this city. So go take a look at it, localmemphis.com.
Definitely. Look forward to seeing that. Let's give it back to Kelly and Cameron.
Thank you, Rodney. Thank you, Joy. Beverly Robertson, one of our favorite people.
Yeah, Candlelight Vigil is now wrapped up here, but we still got more to go. Coming up, the new renovations will make the National Civil Rights Museum one of the most interactive museums in the world.
We'll show you some of the new technology that allows visitors to experience history.
Well, tonight's program at the museum is over. Cameron, I talk a lot about goosebump moments at the end where they held hands and saying, we shall overcome at the very end. You can still see most people still haven't left yet, Cameron.
It's touching when you hear that song, certainly moves the heart. And this is a chance for a lot of people now to see the new attractions on the outside of the building. So Rudy Williams has been among the crowd looking at some of those attractions and talking to people tonight. Rudy, impressions?
From where?
Several people are now beginning to disperse from this ceremony today. A very, very moving. I've said it over and over again each time you guys have come to me. And I have somebody that was a witness to exactly what I was talking about. Nancy was on her way out and she stopped by to tell me exactly why she decided to come here today. Nancy?
We owe a great debt to Martin Luther King. And I'm hoping that this ceremony will rejuvenate everybody to work hard to make sure we have better race relations, better people relations in Memphis, in the country, and in the world. It would help.
This is a very monumental day, but you were also present for another monumental occasion.
I was fortunate enough to march on Washington on that original time, August 28th, I think it was, and hear Martin Luther King give that speech directly. I have notes that say, I have a dream.
Oh, that's amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah,
and I bet
wonderful.
It was incredible to be there.
It was. We took core buses from New York City, and my parents were good enough to let me go, and I took my younger brother with me as well, and we had a wonderful time.
I'm sure you have a lot of stories to tell.
Good ones, really good ones.
Thanks again for stopping to speak with us.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
It was a very moving ceremony. You have a good evening.
Thank
too.
you. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you. Bye.
So there you have it. I could not have said it any better myself, and I'm sure if we stopped other people that are leaving today, they would have stories of their own to tell about, not only today, but how Dr. King shaped their lives, shaped their communities, and made them who they are. But we must remember, as we've heard countless times today, as people approach the podium, there's so much more to do. I'm going to take it back to Kelly and Cameron.
Thank you, Rudy. Tomorrow, of course, this place will be open for visitors, and it has been a long time since anyone was able to walk inside this museum.
Yeah, well, we've been showing you sneak peeks of some of the exhibits, and I got a chance to get in and check out some of the newest exhibits and see the new technology that will make the civil rights lesson interactive. It was a movement that changed the nation.
Little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today.
And whether you were there or not, brand new interactive technology makes you feel a part of the movement. Okay, so this is how you kind of start things off when you get here to the National Civil Rights Museum, right? And we're starting off with how it all began.
It was important to start when Africans were brought over to America.
The story starts here, and what's interesting is what was important to the National Civil Rights Museum is to make it immersive. Talk to us about that.
Well, it is very important because the only way that you can really feel this history, the only way is to actually get close. And we want you to see what the slaves went through. We want you to see the tight quarters. You can hear their voices. You can hear the noises that they made, the screams and the chants. And we even have it so you can crouch down, so you can feel how it is to be in this tight space, going over, you know, the ocean for days and days and days.
And then you get a chance to feel like you're back in school in the 1950s and 60s, right?
That's right. That's all a part of the immersive experience. This is a classroom that's part of the Brown versus Board of Education exhibit.
And get interactive as well.
And it's interactive. So we can go to the smart board, and you'll find that there was desegregation all over the country.
So you can literally point to a state.
You can point to a state. Here's what was going on in Detroit. This is the Milliken versus Bradley, and that's in 1974. As you know, Brown versus Board of Education was 1954.
Wow.
So we're talking 20 years. We're still fighting.
And then there are the exhibits you've grown to love over the museum's 20-plus year history, like the Montgomery bus boycott, giving visitors a chance to climb on board.
If you don't move out of that seat, I'll have you arrested.
Know what it felt like to be black on public transportation in the segregated South. Still hearing that bus driver saying, get out of that seat on the Montgomery bus boycott still gets you fired up, huh?
You can read about it, about Rosa Parks' story, but how about sitting with her and experiencing what it was like while she was really fighting for her own equality, and actually the equality of everyone in the neighborhood, everyone in the nation that needed to be able to have that seat.
So there was Rosa Parks, and then there were the countless others who also fought. Talked about what this statue represents.
Well, the iconic Montgomery bus has been here before, but we put it in a new environment. The newest part of this exhibit is showing the folks that were actually walking the streets. Representative of any one of them could have been Rosa Parks, because at that time, being able to sit where you want to sit was a big issue.
Another interactive exhibit talking about the sit-ins of the civil rights movement.
That's right. Standing up by sitting down is what this movement was about. This is a student sit-in movement. But what was really impressive about it, what was really important about it, is that this was not the only movement. There were movements all over the country. When we have visitors that come, we take them to the smart board. You know, you had Colorado, where the Denver dry good pickets were going on in 1961. We had Nevada. This is the Moulin Rouge Agreement in Las Vegas in 1960. Even in Boston, the Stay Out for Freedom, which was a part of the Boston School Committee's demonstration.
Amazing number of people spoke at the March on Washington, right?
Absolutely. This exhibit really lets you know who was on program. And you can use this tablet so that you can see that Camellia Williams, you may not know who she was, but her presentation was spectacular. John Lewis, you can hear his remarks. And you pick up this phone and you listen.
For all of you to get in this great revolution that is sweeping this nation.
Oh, wow.
And it takes you through everyone that was a participant on the program.
And even if you never got a chance to march on Washington or refused to give up your seat in Montgomery, officials remind you that you still have the power to act and asks, will you join the movement? Yeah, there's so much more that we didn't have time to show you here, but you can see it on our website, localmemphis.com.
You asked me what was my favorite exhibit. What was yours?
You know, for me, it was probably how they ended it. I love it. This is about history, but they never forget to move it forward, freedom forward.
Freedom
and when you
forward.
walk out that museum, I guarantee you sends a very powerful message.
You will carry the message with you.
All right, coming up, Dr. King's legacy reaches all over the world, including college campuses.
We'll show you how one organization works to keep his dream alive next. Three years ago this August, the Martin Luther King Jr. Monument was dedicated in Washington, D.C.
The monument became a reality because of the Phi Alpha fraternity. That was Dr. King's fraternity in college.
Earlier in the ceremony, the Alphas held a special salute to Dr. King. His legacy with that Greek-lettered organization, that Greek-lettered fraternity, is carried on in service from its members. So let's go back down to Rodney and Joy for more on Dr. King's influence on the fraternity.
All right, thanks so much, Cameron and Kelly. In 1952, Dr. King pledged Alpha Phi Alpha at the University of Boston.
That's right, and the fraternity has a deep commitment to the community, and they hope to keep Dr. King's memory alive by simply giving back.
It is an awesome point to stand here. I can still remember the day that Martin Luther King was assassinated.
For Daryl Arbor, this moment is almost like reliving a piece of history.
The simplicity of the room, but it provided the basic things that were needed. And sometimes I think we get so caught up in the fringes and the bling that we realize that we really need the basic things in life to really have a powerful impact on others.
Just looking at this room, imagining Dr. Martin Luther King's last meal, his last conversation, his last thoughts.
That's empowering to me. That's overwhelming. That's one of our reflaying ceremonies that we did here at the museum.
Arbor, like Dr. King, is a man of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity.
I am way here in the back.
Founded in 1906, it's known as the first black Greek-lettered fraternity. Part of the frat's aims, love for all mankind. Their motto, first of all, servants of all, we shall transcend all. Something Arbor says Dr. King reflected in every part of his life.
It's challenging us to remember that we are to be servants to our local community.
Dr. King was initiated in the Sigma chapter of the fraternity by way of Boston University in 1952. These photos, small snapshots of the time Dr. King spent with his fraternity brothers. In an effort to keep Dr. King's life's work alive, the fraternity has established a number of service projects aimed at giving back, making an impact in communities not only here in Memphis, but across the country.
On a personal note, it feels good to know that you're giving back.
One of their initiatives is Project Alpha. It consists of a series of workshops and info sessions aimed at providing teens with guidance on life skills and pregnancy prevention. We visited one of those sessions just this week. Kenneth Carpenter spearheaded this project.
This is just part of the mission of the fraternity, and we try to reach out.
The brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha were also instrumental in the campaign to erect the MLK Memorial in the nation's capital. They established a foundation to manage fundraising for the memorial's construction, a tribute to a brother who not only had a major impact on their organization, but this country as well.
I'm always remember all the doors that were open because of things that those who were involved in the civil rights movement have done.
For Arbor and his brothers, honoring Dr. King's life of service is not simply about remembering the past, but moving that agenda forward, pushing for a positive change.
As I always say, there were doors that I was able to walk through, I didn't have to knock down. But my challenge is to make sure that I keep those doors open so youth and others that are following me can also have those opportunities to be the most that they can.
The theme of today, moving freedom forward. And you can see that's what the fraternity Alpha Phi Alpha, that's what they hope to do, move Dr. King's agenda. He may not be here, but his agenda obviously of peace, of love, of giving back to the community, that's what this organization does every day, and that's what they hope to continue with their younger members. You know, so 40 years down the line, we can say the same thing.
Amazing to see how that legacy continues to live on. Great story. Let's toss it on back over to Cameron Harper and Kelly Cook.
All right, thank you very much, Joy and Rodney. We've got a lot more coming up. Stay with us.
All of the events have wrapped up here for the evening. Tomorrow, the festivities begin at 9:30 in the morning with the Freedom Forward Parade.
Yeah, that will start at the Cook Convention Center and run along 2nd Street to Vance and then to Main and pass right here at the museum.
The breaking of the chain ceremony, which is the official reopening ceremony, starts here at 11 o'clock.
Certainly encourage you to come down. We will have crews here all day. We're going to bring you more special reports from the National Civil Rights Museum tomorrow on Local 24 News at 6 and 10 p.m. and on CW 30 at 9, and I'll be there as well.
And before we leave you tonight, we need to say a couple of big thank yous to the people who made this special possible. First, the staff at the National Civil Rights Museum.
They've been great, especially Faith Morris, Connie Dyson, and Mark Massengill. Without their help, this massive TV production, and it is massive, what you could see, couldn't have happened.
We'd also like to thank the Memphis Fire Department for allowing us to use some of their space, and of course, all of you for watching.
Yeah, that's going to do it for us here at the National Civil Rights Museum. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kelly Cook.
I'm Cameron Harper. Have a great night.